Yo, what's up, everybody? We are back once again. It's a familiar face, but you've only seen him once before. My boy Mike. We met out in school, obviously, and
Sure.
he's working with at sports underscore ZMT, which you can follow. That's the Twitter at, right? I believe
That's correct.
that's the
Yep.
Twitter at. So go ahead and give him a follow on Twitter. They do their podcast as well. But Mike is our resident Cowboys fan, so we're bringing him in to talk about this Cowboys game. The Dallas Cowboys -1.5, coming off that upset loss to the Packers, traveling to Minnesota, take on the Vikings, over under 48.5. The Vikings coming off their thriller, their game that they
Mm-hmm.
really needed
Game
to
of the
win
year.
to prove anything to anybody, because everybody was counting them out as like, oh, a fraudulent, one loss team. They hadn't really played anybody besides the Eagles, and the Eagles were that one loss. But huge win in Buffalo with Josh Allen playing as if he's 100%. Like he wasn't sliding or anything. He was running around trying to get hit. So as
Exactly.
far as I'm concerned, if you're playing like you're 100%, I might as well you're 100%. You know what I mean? That's a valid win for the Vikings. Cowboys coming
Absolutely.
off a bad loss there that they shouldn't have lost to the Packers, but me and you both knew that was coming.
Yep.
The Aaron Rodgers effect right there, like we were just talking about backstage. Mike, see that this is why we bring people like Mike on. We bring Big Mike Raider on. Big Mike Raider's a Raiders fan, Raiders Nation guy, but he will pick against the Raiders when he sees it. Mike
Mhm.
was like, "Yo, you should have had me on last week because I would have told you guys that we're going with the Packers." And I was like, "Bro, we didn't even need you because we were on the
Yeah.
Packers anyway."
I was
But
here in spirit. Here
but
in
I was
spirit.
glad to hear it. You know what I mean? That because that shows that you're not biased. You're calling it how you see it and making wise decisions, making good plays. So on that note, what are some good plays that you see lined up for this game here?
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, like we talked about it. I was here for, I believe it was the Rams game, right? It was
I
probably
think
the
so.
biggest,
I think it was the Rams.
the biggest test at the time with the Cowboys had Cooper
Right.
Rush and everything like that. Coming off of just the Packers game, not even just from a Cowboys fan. I mean, from a Cowboys fan perspective, I mean, I should be in the doubts. I should be in the dumps. I should believe that the Vikings are going to alternate spread this thing and just run away with it. They have Dalvin Cook. Cowboys have one of the worst rushing defenses in the league as of lately, the last 4 games. So like you just think that the Vikings are going to run away with this, but this is not the biased Cowboys fan in me talking. This is just Vegas talking. There's a reason why the Cowboys are favored in this game. Me and you talked about before we went live and everything like that. It's just about the NFC contestant and besides the Bills game, which was crazy, and the Eagles game, of course. Who had the Vikings really played? This is probably a real test for them, just as much as a test for the Cowboys. And Not being the biased fan, guys, but I'm taking the Cowboys at -1.5 here. I think they're going to win this game, strictly to the fact that just like what the Packers are to the Cowboys last week, that the Cowboys are to the Vikings. They're like a kryptonite. The last 30 years with backup quarterbacks, they have gone into Minnesota and won these games. And also, just another thing too, you think that. Um, when it comes to the rushing game for the Vikings, they should just run all over the Cowboys 110%. Just give the Dalvin Cook 95% of the time. But if you look at it, they are one of the fifth most pass happy teams in the league at home. So that means Kirk Cousins is going to throw the rock. And it's also another thing here, too, that Kirk Cousins is not on a 1 o'clock slate. This is a 4:30 slate, close to prime time. The records are absolutely switched. There's just so many things that are going against the Vikings here. And I think that's why Vegas likes them. And that's why I like them, too.
Yeah, man, that Kirk Cousins thing is hilarious because
It's
it's like
crazy, bro. It's a
it's
total
not prime
switch.
time because it's a
It's crazy.
4:25 game or whatever, so it's not prime time, but he can't hide in the shadows of NFL Red Zone's Octobox. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
He's
There's
only
gonna
got
be
3
3
games to
games.
compete with.
So,
Yeah.
like, they might go 3 screens and, like, you got no chance. Everyone's tuned in, Kirk. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna show us? And, I mean, although they did pull out that win against the Bills, I don't wanna take anything away from that because
Mhm.
everything that was in their control besides that 4th and goal that they didn't get was executed perfectly. They showed
Absolutely.
fight. They won the game at the end of the day. So I don't wanna take anything away from them, but they are Josh Allen not folding away from, being a 2-loss team. Yeah,
Mhm.
like he fucked up. You know what I mean? That's there's no other way to
Try
put it.
trying to make things happen. Too many things happen.
Shout out to the Vikings for capitalizing on that, getting the job done, and finishing strong in overtime and everything. Obviously,
100%.
so I'm with that. But Josh Allen, and then an interception in overtime too. So Josh Allen really lost the game in a way. But I don't want to take anything away. The Vikings have showed they're a good team.
Great
You
team.
mentioned backup quarterbacks and how they win with backups and everything, but the word backup sparked something in me because I love when Tony Pollard is a backup compared to when Zeke is out because like if you're giving me Tony Pollard at over or under 35 and a half, 38 and a half yards, it's
Hmm.
such an easy yes for me. It's such an easy overcall. You don't even have to really put too much thought into it. But when Zeke is out, his props are up obviously because he's a
Hmm.
starter.
Exactly.
I know he should be getting starting carries anyway, but there's a
100%.
little paycheck that tells you it should be Zeke, obviously. So that's why he's still getting number one carries. But Zeke hopefully is going to play this week, and if he is, I'm looking all over Tony Pollard.
Exactly. I think with the exactly what you're saying with Zeke being out the last few weeks, it just proves Tony Pollard's worth that everyone has been seeing. But obviously, Zeke's got that big contract. As a Cowboys fan, hated it since day one, and everything like that. It just proves that Tony Pollard should be the number one running back in this offense. But then at the same time, they do benefit off each other because when Zeke's in there, it kind of gives the chance to run and pound on the defense side of things, and
Yeah.
that gives Pollard the chance to be shifty and tire them out. So, but yeah, love any type of props for Tony Pollard every single week lately. It's just like an absolute lock.
Yeah, so I'm looking right now, and they're definitely they don't have. I'm on covers.com, so they show me like
Yeah, I'm on the same thing.
DraftKings, BetMGM, FanDuel, Caesars. So they're showing Tony Pollard props for rushing yards, but they're not showing that or Zeke. I think that they think Zeke is going to play though because they have Tony Pollard set at 42 and a half. They
Oh,
probably want to see if anybody jumps in early and then Zeke plays and the number goes down or whatever. They might think Tony Pollard being the backup isn't going to get those yards, but I like him to get those yards either way. This is going to drop tomorrow morning. We're recording this Friday night here, guys, but Saturday morning is when you're seeing this. I hope that line doesn't move too much before we get this out to you guys because I think I'm going to slam that right now. 42 and a half, whether Zeke plays or not. If Zeke does play, they might have him on a little bit of a pitch count with the injury that he's been battling and everything. I like Tony Pollard getting 43 yards. He could break that on one run any given
love that.
Sunday.
Love that. Great pick. It's a great pick.
Where else are you going with player props here in this game?
I'm like I said before too about the Vikings being one of the most pass happy teams at home and everything like that, and just the basic mindset and just the thing that everyone thinks that's going to happen. It's the way to go, especially the way the Cowboys run defense has been in the last 5 games. They think they're going to hand the ball off to Dalvin Cook. I think that Kirk Cousins is going to throw the ball all over the place, and they're going to just take advantage of the fact that the Cowboys' run defense is going to be scared. Probably going to think that Dalvin Cook's getting the rock. A lot of play action opportunities are going to be opened up, especially going to Jefferson, 110% going to Jefferson. So I really like the Kirk Cousins over 37 and a half attempts passing wise because people are not going to think it's obvious. They're going to think that they're going to run the ball, but I think that Kirk Cousins is going to throw the ball. They love throwing the ball at home. And I feel like at some point in this game, because it's going to be a shootout, it's going to be close, that Kirk Cousins is going to have to throw the ball. So I really like that over 37 and a half pass attempts.
I love that play too, man. That's great because Dalvin Cook is like one of those guys where we all know he can perform. We all know how great of a player he is, but it's hard to take a Dalvin Cook bet any day.
Of
You
course,
know what I
it's
mean?
very
It's hard
consistent.
because they're not giving him the rock as much as he should. It's like Aaron Jones in Green Bay, and we saw what. And speaking of Aaron Jones, we saw what Aaron Jones and Green Bay were able to do against the Cowboys. That was the first time in a couple weeks that they've started to get him going. So I mean, it could make sense for the Vikings to favor Dalvin Cook. It would make sense, obviously, but we know how they like to call their games. And like you said, they're a very pass happy team, top 5 in the league in passing percentage. So I like that play. I think they're going to throw. And if the game is close or if the Cowboys get out to a lead at all, then we're talking for sure.
For sure. Yeah, no, definitely. It's just like the most obvious thing in the world. They think that Dalvin Cook's going to get the rock is the way it should be. I mean, look at the last 4 running backs that have faced the Dallas Cowboys defense, which is Khalil Herbert, Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams. They have all averaged over 100 yards rushing. So this Cowboys defense is in a big trouble when it comes to the rushing game. But I think that the trend is just continuing so much that the Vikings are going to think they can take advantage of it with the play action. And I think Kirk is going to throw the rock a lot.
Yeah, and the Cowboys might sell out to try to defend that a little bit. Not that you can really do that against Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson in the passing attack, but like they have the secondary where they could, in a way, at least focus on the running game and still be able to be balanced and do well defensively. But yeah, man, that's the thing. Like when the sentiment is all on a certain side of like, yeah, this is what has to happen. This is what they should do. Dallas's defense, they can't stop the run. Give the ball to Dalvin Cook. The opposite happens all the time. You know what I mean? And if you're a fan of this channel, if you tune into this channel all the time, you know that when everything is lopsided, that's when we go on the other side all the time. I mean, we did We had Seahawks over Broncos week 1. We had the Cowboys over the Bengals with Cooper Rush's first start week
Love
2
it.
when they were like a 7.5-point dog and they went out and smacked them. And then we had the Colts over the Chiefs the next week after that
Really?
when they didn't score for 6 quarters straight and they're playing the most dominant offense we've seen in the past few years. And we were like, nope, it's the Colts in this one. We had the Steelers over the Bucks a couple weeks ago. We had the Packers over the Cowboys, Washington over the Eagles on Monday Night Football. So basically what I'm saying is if you aren't a fan, if you aren't subscribed, you will be if you stick around a little bit. So hit that subscribe button and tune in to all of our shows. But the point I'm getting at is like that's what happens all the time in the NFL. That's like the name of the game in the NFL. When everything's lopsided and everything makes sense one way, the opposite happens all the time, left and right. It's not going to be 100%, obviously. Like Dalvin Cook, and the best part about, I like what you said because you're not fading Dalvin Cook. You understand that he can go for 150 on this team.
Correct.
What you're saying is, I'm going to take a different bet instead of taking my chances on that just because I know how they play. So I love that. I love that you didn't just come out and say, well, I don't think that's going to happen, so I'm going on the under because, like, he can break one against this Cowboys defense, and you know that.
Yes.
And his over can hit, and Kirk Cousins' passing attempts could hit. Yeah,
Could be that type of game for sure.
Exactly.
That's why I looked at the over under. I don't really have a favor for either or because it could be either of the things. I mean, last year when Cooper Rush went to Minnesota, it was a very under game. Both offenses underperformed. It was more of a defensive game, and because of Cooper Rush being in there and Kirk Cousins on prime time, it's just a very crappy offense played. But different story here. Kirk Cousins is having a great year. You can't take that away from him, even if it is a 4:30 slot. And same thing with Dak Prescott. Ever since he's been back, he doesn't look that sharp either. So it's a little worrisome. This game could go under. This game could go over. I really don't like either spot. I would fade away from taking the over on the under.
Yeah, no, I agree. I got nothing on that. I do like your pick on the Cowboys though to win the game, probably cover this spread. Because of the way you laid it out, I completely agree with that. Do you have any? Go ahead.
Sorry. No, yeah, no, I was just gonna say like what we talked before, man. It's just like one of those things, you called it with the Titans and the Packers on Thursday, when we watched the show and everything like that. It's the same thing. It's a game that the Cowboys, they came off a really bad game. They looked like they were exposed. The Vikings are red hot. Doesn't look like anything could phase them. And they're also due for a bad game. So this could be it. It's just like you said, it's a story of trends, and Vegas knows there's a reason why the Cowboys are favored in this game.
Yeah, they don't like giving out free money a lot. They gave out a lot of free money last week with the Packers and Washington. If people were taking Washington, there was a lot of smart, sharp money on Washington. But yeah, they don't give it away on purpose. So you can't just look at the Vikings and say, "Oh my God," they're begging you to take the Vikings because it looks favorable. You know what I mean? It looks favorable.
But the fact that it's not a pick 'em.
I'm getting 2 for 1 on my, or I don't know what the money line is set at. I didn't look, but I imagine it's somewhere in like the plus 150 or something like that range.
120, I believe was.
Yeah. Okay. So 120, 125. It'll vary before game time, but it's favorable. You're looking at plus money on a team that just beat the Bills, who everybody's high on for the most part. And then the Cowboys coming off a loss to the Packers. Nobody's confident in Dak. Everybody likes Cooper Rush, blah, blah, blah. That when all that is going that way, that's when you jump on the other side. And so we're going to ride with the Cowboys on this one. Do you have any other player props that you want to look at or any other, even if we don't have the props out yet, just anything that you see happening or any guys that you want to single out that we should be taking a look at come Sunday morning?
I just want to keep emphasizing on that thing. When it comes to the Dalvin Cook and the Kirk Cousins thing, I really think it's going to take an effect in this game. I think that the Vikings are just going to go a completely different route than they should and everything like that to actually beat this Cowboys team, where I think that Dalvin Cook will get the rock and Kirk Cousins is going to be throwing. That's why I want to look at the rushing attempts for Dalvin Cook. I believe it's set at 17.5 attempts. I would smash that under. I really would. I would really go under there because it's like I said, it's the most obvious thing. And I think Kirk Cousins is going to have to throw the ball in certain situations. They might be down this game. So I don't think Dalvin Cook, like you said earlier with Aaron Jones and in a situation where he should be getting the rock more, I don't think he's going to. So I really like that under in the Dalvin Cook 17.5 rushing attempts too.
Yeah, and the other part of that is even if you're even if you're not entirely correct about like them just not going his way and him hitting the under because of that, he could also hit the under because he's very successful when they are giving him the rock. Like if
Hmm.
he's getting 8 yards on first down, or I shouldn't say, if he's getting 4 or 5 yards on first down to the point where they're on a 2nd and 5 every time he's touching the rock, they're gonna throw the ball on that 2nd and 5, on that 3rd and 5 if it's an incompletion, and then he's stuck. If it's a 3 and out or only like
Yeah.
2, 3 first downs on the drive, he only gets 2 carries, 3 carries, just because he's getting so many yards, or he's
Yeah.
getting a first down on the touch. So he might hit the yards and stay under this rushing attempts line. So I could definitely
Yeah,
see that happening.
I could definitely see them like starting to run out the ball really hot, and then the Cowboys defense is going to try to adjust, really fill up the box, and that's going to lead to Kirk Cousins trying to take those play action attempts, and I think that's where the over in the passing attempts comes into play too. I just really think like either adjustments going to be made, or the Vikings are just going to try to be cute and try to make some play action attempts based off of Dalvin Cook's early success.
Yeah, and real quick, off the top of your head, how do the Cowboys usually fare against opposing tight ends?
Um,
If
I
there's
think
any
they're
like anything that stands out, at least, like
Yeah, I think they're middle of the pack. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like
average or whatever.
yeah, I don't. I mean, at least throughout the year, I don't think there really has been a tight end that's been that spectacular against the Cowboys. Um, I think they cover it pretty well because that's where Mika Parsons can go drop back into coverage, and
Yeah.
he's pretty good at that.
Yep. Yep.
So, but yeah, I would say middle of the pack for sure.
That's a good point. Yeah, no, I was just asking
T.J.
because
Hawkinson breakout
because
game.
that's somebody you gotta look at, man. He's getting a ton of targets. He's gonna get like 10 targets every week, it looks like. Though I mean, with how pass happy they are, and this lines right up with your Kirk Cousins play here with the passing attempts. I mean, I just think he's gonna get fed, or
Yeah,
they're at least gonna be looking his way. Now he just needs to catch the passes and we're golden. But they got his over under 43.5 on DraftKings and BetMGM right now, and you're not even eating that much juice, minus 115. I
yeah,
feel like he can hit that. I don't have the numbers pulled up about like what he's been hitting all year, but I know he had like 48 or something. He had like 70, I think a week before that. Like he's getting the targets, he's gonna get the catches. He's a stud.
for
I
sure.
think that's a pretty low line there. I mean, it's high for a tight end in general, but
I
it's
would
a low line,
say,
in
yeah,
my opinion.
I would say, I actually like that a lot. Like now that I think about it, because Mika's not 100% healthy right now. You can see that the last 2 games, and also the biggest mistake the Cowboys made against the Packers last week was having Mika at linebacker for 90% of the time when he's one of the league's best pass rushers. Right, it makes no sense. And I
Right.
think this game with a banged up offensive line the Vikings have, I think Dan Quinn's going to make that adjustment and put him back on the defensive rush. That means no one's going to cover the tight end as well as Mika can. That means that T.J. Hawkinson could definitely get open. I like that
Yeah.
pick a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just looking at it. It seems low. I feel like it should be around 55, 60. That range would have made me like way less confident. I would have wanted to look into it a lot more, but that looks great to me right now. I feel like what we kind of just laid out. Now, I know FanDuel and like some books won't let you do same game parlays with certain props in it, but
Hmm.
if you can get a anybody listening, and you too, Mike, if you don't have it already, but anybody, if you can get Bet 365, they let you do pretty much anything you want. You know what I mean? Like I can combine rush attempts unders with rushing yards and catches and catch unders and a field goal kick. Like they let you rock out with your parlays. So what I'm kind of seeing us discuss here in terms of if we were going to build the same game parlay, something along the lines of like going on Bet365 and taking Dalvin Cook's under rushing attempts, Hawkinson's over yards, Kirk Cousins over passing attempts, and Tony Pollard over 42.5 rushing yards.
Hmm.
I think those four right there might get you some
This
good
is
money,
good
some
juice
good plus odds there.
for
It,
sure.
it, it seems like that might be a solid play. So I'm definitely going to go ahead and think about building that when we get off here
For
and
sure, man.
see what number we're getting. But I guess other than that, I mean, it's tough when it's this early in the week giving out like official plays because so much can change.
Hmm.
But I think the most official of the plays that we love the most here are the Cowboys to win, cover the spread. We don't really have a play on the over under. I really love Tony Pollard's line if it stays around the 40 to 45, 50 range. I mean, and this depends on, Zeke being out or in. I think he's going to play. If they happen to rule him out, though, then, that number will jump, obviously. So if you can get it at 42, go ahead.
Jump on
TJ
it.
Hawkinson around 45, 50 yards. I love that. And then Mike is all over Kirk Cousins over passing attempts. I guess you would probably play that up to like 40, it sounds like maybe, like 30
Yeah, man. I
half,
would think
nine
so.
and a half, you would still play it maybe if it climbs up.
If it climbs up to a little bit, I could definitely see it. Like I know it's at 37.5. I said, right. I believe it definitely could go. I think it would jump about 2 or 3 past. I could say 39.5, just at that 40 line. And I think I would still play it. Like I said, I just like this team's very pass happy in general, top 5 in the league at home. And I think they just think that they're going to need to pass the ball to try to catch this Cowboys defense off guard because they're going to be so focused on the run because that's what's been beating them the last few weeks. So I think Kirk Cousins is going to try to have his moment to shine, and maybe we'll bite him in the ass. We'll see.
Yeah, there you go. And then not necessarily fading Dalvin Cook all the way, but
Yeah.
Mike also would take a strong look at maybe his under rushing attempts. Even if he gets the yards, he might do it in less attempts, especially if he has like a 90-yard touchdown run like he did, I think, last week. So that's about all we got for you, though. We'll definitely have Mike on for more Cowboys games going forward and other games as well. You know, we'll just have to line up the schedule and make it happen. But make sure you go subscribe on his channel as well. That's going to be in the description box right here. Give him a follow on Twitter and give his at sports_ZMT. You see it right there. That link will be down there as well. But give them a follow on their podcast as well. Other than that, hit subscribe here, and we'll be back Sunday morning with our live chat where we go through every single game on the Sunday slate, me and Chad. And Mike, if you're up, man, if you're up Sunday morning, shoot me a text.
Man, baby.
We'll throw you in here too. If you want to jump in for 10, 15 minutes, give some thoughts about some games, we'll make it happen. All right.
It sounds good, bro. Thanks for having me as always. Appreciate you.
Anytime. We'll see you probably next week, hopefully. All right.
Yes, sir.
Peace.